Hey guys, I welcome you once again in my channel where we discuss various ways for Forex automation. This video is an extension to my last video and as you are already aware of what kind of services that we are offering Forex EA and robot services and copy trading services, and we are not offering any kind of Forex signals. Okay. And our investment goals, maybe the trading goals, like we have already planned the strategies and the kind of initial investment that you will be making, and with the proper communication we will be able to reach the next milestone, which could be a second investment, that could be a diversification of the strategies and better returns at the end. Okay, so I trust that you all are fine, fit and fine, well in your health. And as you already know, we started a demo trial starting from 3rd of May, and it lasted till 25th of June. And I posted the result of 8 weeks in the Telegram channel and my YouTube videos earlier as well. Okay, so the free demo trial is actually ending today. After my last video, what I made up to the performance up to 25th of June, few of the people who joined me later during the trial and some new ones also requested me to extend it for another 4 weeks. So some of them who were taking my free trial converted into live real trading thereafter. And I also posted the reports of EV4 and HG4. We started with EV8 and HG6 and a couple of other strategies, but we stick to EV8 and HG6 later. And I also posted the reports of EV4 and HG4 in my Telegram and YouTube channel earlier. This was done to suit the needs of most of the people, because there are very few people who can afford more than 5,000 US dollars to trade in live and real account. But due to my personal commitments and some family things, I was not able to start live trading for EV4 or HG4 copy trading services earlier, the live one that I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm starting a new slot from 2nd of August with two strategies from my new and fresh real live account. I will migrate my existing funds that are already running. There are a couple of accounts that are already running with some trades, and I will migrate those accounts to new and fresh account to start these copy trading services from 2nd of August. Okay, and we will start with EV4. We will be using four pairs, and EV1 with one pair. These two strategies we will be starting from 2nd of August, and the HG4, that is again four pairs, and HG1 one pair, 1 4 1 4. These means the pair. Okay, and during the next week I will migrate all my live account of investors. Uh, I mean the live accounts of all the investors from EV8 to EV4 and EV1, and I will stop that demo account so that we can start from these two accounts without being shifting to demo or real again and again. Okay, and there are some running trades, like as I just mentioned, so I will settle these account early next week to shift it into real account for EV4 and EV1 for the copy trading purpose. So let's see the trading result of 12 weeks, because it's another 4 weeks now. It is just we started it on 3rd of May, so it is just 1 week less than completing 3 months. So I'm just sharing these results just to gain you some confidence. Okay. Okay, so this is the HG6 one. These no, it is the EV8 one. These are the running trades right now. You can see uh, that is minus 171. That is the floating one, and we have used 8 pairs over here. Okay, and if I go to let me, we started it from you can see from 3rd of May we started with initial 8,000 US dollars. So I will go some fast from here, because it will take more time to give you some information about each and every trade, because most of the people would like to see uh, the report at the last, like what kind of drawdown was there, how much profit was made, what kind of trades were there, and everything. So let me move fast. Can even, okay, so let me move a little fast. Okay, so you can see today is 23rd of July. These are the trades, and let me do one thing. Save as detailed report. I will give it a name, EV8. Okay, and one save on desktop. It will take some time to create the report because it is a result of 3 months of trades with 8 pairs. So just be patient. And guys, once again, like I would like to tell you that trade with the amount that you would afford to lose. Okay, because trading is a highly, like in the forex market, it is highly risky. So this is the report that you might be waiting for. So I'm starting it from the scratch. However, I have posted the similar result, the similar report of 8 weeks earlier in the Telegram channel. Okay, so Telegram channel. So I'm just scrolling it down from the scratch. This is the same account. Okay. Okay. I would highly suggest you, in case if you're interested in the copy trading services from me, or either from anyone, even in it, if you are I mean trading for your own account through manual trading or any kind of EA, I would highly suggest you to go for a good broker, and ECN broker, or either fixed spread broker, or a zero spread broker, or a very tight spread broker. Okay, this is very important, guys, because this is the first milestone that I mean, this is the first thing that you need to enter into forex market, and you will realize there are a lot of difference between the profitability if you compare it with various accounts with the same strategy, with the same equity amount. If you try, like, you will find the difference in the profit if you compare it after a couple of weeks. Okay, so now we are 19th of July. It is 20. Okay. Okay, so these are the running trades you just saw. Okay, and this is what the result is. I have already told you about these two, because this was something that happened after the FOMC minutes and the interest rate decision last month, and this was something when I changed the lot size in between the running trades. Okay, so after that it's going smooth. You can see gross profit, gross loss, total net profit, profit factor. Okay, the drawdown, the kind of drawdown, maximal, absolute, and all. Okay, so this is all in front of you. This is all about this one, the EV8. And let's move to SG6 now. This is the SG6 one. These are the running trades right now. Okay, minus 21.83. Okay, and let's go to the account history. We deposited 6,000 the same day, 3rd of May, and so I'm just scrolling it down a little faster. We use 6 pairs over here, that's why I named it 6. There is nothing that it is the exact name of something or something, like it is just an identifier that I use just to make myself understand that which strategy that we are talking about. Okay, let me go a little faster from here. Okay, so this is the result. We deposited 6,000 US dollars, and in 12 weeks 12 weeks, yeah, it is 12 weeks, yeah. So we gained a profit of 2110. Okay, and let's go to save as detail report. I would name it HG6 desktop. Okay, just wait for a moment, it's about to create the report. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so with 6,000 we have started with from 3rd of May. And guys, this is a demo account, right? Because I was providing a free demo, free trial demo on your demo account, so there is nothing to lose for you as well as me. So now we have moved to real trading, but this is what I'm talking about, the kind of strategies that we have used earlier. So let me just scroll down and you can see each and every trade. These reports I have already posted in my YouTube channel as well as the Telegram channel earlier. So you can tally the each and every trade, because these report will not say anything false, right? Okay. I personally used to compare various brokers and the kind of difference in the profitability at the end of the month. So I would highly suggest you, even if you are going for any kind of strategy, try to use it on even on demo account for a couple of weeks. Try to diversify the same kind of equity, or maybe the same equity in various brokers, and see the difference at the end of the month. Just don't be biased with any kind of bonus or like any kind of other things, right? This is what the running trades are, minus 2.38, and this is the report. The withdrawal, I mean, not withdrawal, it is the deposit. Okay, this is the close trades, the profit, the profit factor, and drawdown, absolute maximum, the relative one, and everything is here. Okay, so this is all in front of you guys. So let's go back to our presentation. Okay, so we have already seen the result of 12 weeks now, right? So those who are interested in my copy trading services, please make sure and please understand these points that I'm going to talk about, because a couple of people asked me like what kind of EA robot it is or something. Yes, it is an automation, but the kind of system that I'm using to provide a copy trading services is not any commercial EA or robot that is available in the market. Okay, I have used some combination of some expert advisors or robot with some kind of indicators in this system, and I got it developed from somewhere for my personal use. So there is nothing called perfect in the forex market, because the market uh, is never predictable. You can't predict the market movements, right? But I prefer this system, and this is not for sale. So please don't confuse it with any kind of EA or robot videos that I have uploaded in my YouTube channel. EV1, EV4, EV8, HG4, HG6, these are all kind of names that I have given. These are just a kind of identifiers for me, just to understand that which strategy that we are talking about. Like you have names, right? Your brothers and sisters, your siblings, your parents have names, right? So these are the identifiers, or you have friends as well. So these are just the kind of identifiers or the name given by me. These are not the name of any EA or robot or any kind of system. These are the names or the strategies that make me comfortable, or maybe or it is easier to talk about those particular topic, that which strategy or the which name that we are talking about. Okay, and again want to remind that this copy trading services is only for conservative to growth investors or traders whose expectations are reasonable and doesn't exceed more than 20% monthly. Okay. So you need a Forex or a Windows-based VPS to copy trades from my account, not on my account. It is uh, from my account on your account. Okay, and we will start with only two strategies, as I have mentioned earlier, for the real life trading on accounts. EV4 and EV1, that is for 4 pairs and for 1 pair, so that the people who can afford for 1 pair, they can start with 1 pair, and once their amount increases, they can diversify or can go for EV4, or the people who are looking to start with uh, I mean uh, 4 these pairs, they can start with EV4. So again, actually, I would like to tell you that my copy trading services charges is 15% only. It is 15% of the net profit, and that you will be paying at the end of the month in case if you opt for the real live trading service. And I don't want to ask for weekly or bi-weekly uh, this profit money to risk your running account. And it is a base of trust that we can develop and can go for long term. Okay. So you need to make sure that the real equity balance of your trading account should not go below the minimum balance recommended after you withdraw when you need. Okay. So whenever you want to withdraw, you can, because it is your own account. But please remember, whatever suggested the minimum balance, please keep that balance in your account, and the exceeding balance you can definitely withdraw whenever you need, or else I would suggest you to keep it with you so that you can diversify your account later. And the second main point is, you will not change anything in the setting other than the recommended one without asking me. Don't risk your account for unnecessary withdrawal unless there is an emergency. In that case, please inform me, so that it should not go below the minimum balance that is recommended. Okay. And profit is always coming from the market movements. So more the market movement is, more fluctuation is there, more volatile the market is, more could be the profit, and same would be the risk. So every investment comes with risk. Okay. So you should be aware of this. I'm still open for the new traders or investors who still need a free trial on their demo account for a certain period of time. And please guys, I'm a serious trader, and I need only serious traders to connect with me. Those who are serious to trade had an option to see the running trades on their own demo or real account, because a couple of people asked me, share the investor password for this demo account or something. I mean, I don't consider those people as serious, because if they're serious, they could have taken this trial, because this trial was free. They could have taken in their own demo account. It was costing nothing to them. Apart from that, just they need to afford one cheap VPS for that. It makes more sense to see the trades on your on their own account rather than keeping or looking for my account. So only real traders and investors are welcome to connect with me for this copy trading purpose. Since I will be using my own real account for live and real account for the copy trading, so rest assured that I'm also equally liable for the profit and loss that I will be making on my account as well as your account. We cannot eliminate risk, but we can definitely minimize it. So we will only take calculative risk to achieve our target. Our target is 14 to 20% at the end of the month. Mostly it exceeds, but I will keep it limited to 14 to 20. And more than this, it will be a bonus, but we are not going to be greedy by increasing our expectations without any obvious reasons, because there is no other investment in the world that can provide you even 2 to 3% of the profit monthly. Okay. Last but not the least, be realistic, be honest to me as well as yourself in forex trading. It's real money, it's real trading, real risk is there, so the profit is also real, and the loss could be also, and loss is also real. So don't take any unwanted step, even if you don't see the potential risk upcoming, because I see like a couple of people, if they don't see more drawdown in their account, then they used to trade with higher risk. They don't see the potential risk that is upcoming. They just see the risk that has happened till that time. So the process of joining me for copy trading is the same. Please see my previous video, or you can also watch the video. A link is there in the description. For those who want to trade themselves with an expert advisor, EA, with my support, I can suggest a few. You can search it from my YouTube channel. The Hedge Expert is there. I Am Millionaire is there, Sniper Talk is there, and many others are there. Okay, so feel free to explore them on my YouTube channel. But remember, risk versus reward is the same. More is the risk, more is the reward. Higher risk, higher profit. And for more information, you can connect with me on Telegram. You can search for DPNTFX and you can find me. Make sure when you connect with me on Telegram, please be specific about the name of the EA robot that you're talking about, or if you're interested in copy trading, please let me know what exact strategy that you would like to start with, so that I don't confuse it with like what kind of EA that you're talking about. Because most of the people that come to me, they talk about like they say that I saw your EA video on YouTube, but they don't know the name of the EA, so it will make me confused sometime. Okay, again, I would like to make this disclaimer. Forex trading is not suitable for everyone. Trading forex invites high risk and you can lose your entire capital too. Don't trade or invest with the money that you cannot afford to lose. But choosing the right strategy, right balance, or risk versus money management and discipline, it is equally reward. The same is the risk, and it is equally rewarding as well. So what are the requirements to join me for the copy trading purpose? Your equity, as I suggest at least 1,000 US dollars to trade one pair. This is the minimum what I suggest. And if you can keep it between 1200 to 1500 based on your potential or based on your affordability, that would be an ideal. Because and whatever profitability that I have told you, 14 to 20%, that is calculated on 1,000 US dollars. Okay, so for example, there is a drawdown of 30%. Okay, if your equity is 1,000 and the drawdown is 300, then the drawdown is 30%. But if your equity is 1,500 and the drawdown is 300, then it is 20% drawdown with the same running trades. So for EV1 we are using one pair, and for EV4 we are using 4 pairs. Okay, people who want to invest or trade with higher capital, uh, we have a provision for that within EV1 and EV4 itself. Please ask me how to do it. And the third thing is that you need to have a reliable forex VPS. All these VPS is a very common word. Okay, but please remember, you need either a forex VPS, and some of the VPS provider used to call it forex VPS, and generally these all are Windows based VPS. Don't go for Linux or WordPress VPS or like anything like that. We need only Windows based VPS. Okay, this is required to copy trade on your account, whether it is a demo or a real, because we need a medium to connect from my account to your account, and this is through VPS. I don't require your MT4 or MT5 passwords. I just need your account number to connect. What you have to do is that you have just to install an .ex4 file on your trading account to connect with my account via VPS. How to do it? Please check the video link in the description, that how you can connect with me for the copy trading purpose. Last but not the least, please use a good tight spread, zero spread, fixed spread, or ECN broker to ensure no slippage and our trade orders copied on time. So the leverage that I suggest you is 1:500. But in case if your broker doesn't provide 1:500, then you can go for 1:400 or 1:600. But don't exceed more than that. Okay. So in case if you're interested, you can please share all these information by next week before 30th of August, so that I can set up the start system to start from Monday 2nd of August. I will do it during the weekend when the market is not running, so that all the trades will start fresh from my account to your account. Okay. So what are the details that I require? That is your name, the kind of broker that you're using, what kind of account type is there, account number, the leverage that you are using, whether it is a demo or a real account, what kind of equity balance is there, are you using any kind of bonus. I would definitely suggest you, like in case if you're going for real trading, please don't opt for any kind of bonus or swap. Even if you opt for that, any kind of bonus, but don't count in your real equity. Okay, because real equity balance is something different. In case of any kind of drawdown, your bonus will never help you. Okay, I'm talking about in general, like it is not something that is concerned with this strategy or the copy trading. It is in general. And the country of your residence, your email address, and just uh, let me know if you have a VPS, because VPS is definitely required. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for your time. And you can contact me via Telegram at GPNTFX, or you can email me at enjoywealthylife@gmail.com. If required, I'm wishing you all the best of your health, peace, and success today as well as always. Good luck and take care of your family and your loved ones, which money cannot buy. Take care, stay safe, and we'll connect with you soon. Bye.